This is Teachers Talk Radio, and you are listening live.
Good morning and welcome to the Monday Morning Break with me, Marie. Today, I'm going to be talking to Ben. He teaches functional skills, he assesses business and management apprenticeships and supports education providers on 2 levels. He's also coming to the end of an engineering degree with the OU. Join us as we talk about balancing working in education, studying and family life.
This is Teachers Talk Radio, and you are listening live. Tune in live at ttradio.org, or to join in the conversation, download the Podbean app and search Teachers Talk Radio. Follow the hashtag TTRadio. Tune in, talk it out with Teachers Talk Radio.
Hey, good morning and welcome to the Monday Morning Break with me, Marie. And this morning I am joined by Ben, who is my husband.
Hello.
Hi, Ben.
Hello.
Thank you for being roped into joining my radio show.
Thank you very much for having me on.
So what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about how do you do it? I think something that we probably get asked quite a lot. So a bit of background. We both work in education, and you can tell me a bit about tell the listeners a bit about your role. I think I know what you do.
You do know, yes.
I think I know what you do.
Yeah.
So we both work in education. I would say, fair to say, quite challenging jobs at times, and we both study as well. So you are currently coming to the end of your degree.
Yep.
Through the Open University, so the end of 6 years of study.
Yes.
I have just started my master's, and between us we've got 3 boys, and obviously everything that comes with that as well, family life, and so on. So you've literally just got back from doing the school run.
Yes. It's hot today as well.
Yeah. So you've done the school run, and I've been packing because I'm about to go away for 3 days for a conference.
I know, it's all right for some, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes. So let's talk about how we balance it all.
Yes. Sounds good.
And I think, hopefully we'll have some tips and things like that. And if anyone who's listening live wants to kind of message in with any of their thoughts on this as well, because I know there's a lot of people out there who are juggling an awful lot. So yeah, let's all share our tips and strategies. So let's start with the first one.
Okay.
Please tell all the lovely listeners what you've been studying.
Okay, right. So I went to university when I was 18, to University of Gloucester. And then after that, I went into work. So I left with a diploma of higher education. I was a bit of a rubbish student, to be honest, when I was younger.
What is it? Education is wasted on the young.
It felt like that for me, especially. I actually only started enjoying education when I started getting older. But anyway, after I left, I went into work. So from this point on, I was employed full time. But I decided I wanted to complete my degree. So I did that with the Open University. And then I enjoyed it so much that I carried on and I did another one in philosophy. And then this one was my last one, I promise.
Well, you say that.
I say that. In mechanical engineering. So it's last year of 6 years now. But yeah, so these are all obviously done alongside work.
Yes. So 3 degrees.
Yes.
3 degrees and working full time.
Yeah.
Throughout all of that.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is manageable though, clearly.
Yeah. Yes, we're both
right. Still slightly insane, but yeah.
We're both still here.
Yeah.
Okay, so how many hours a week do you think that you dedicate on top of full-time work? And this is just to study, because we'll talk about everything else, I think.
Yeah. So
studying.
Drawing a distinction between that and extra work that you do, like courses and things that you would do in like a normal role. Yeah, no. So this is all separate. So my job is different to what I study. There is a distinction to like what I've been studying and what I've actually been employed doing. But so the time has been quite varied, to be honest, throughout. So that is also depending on the course I've been doing. So some of the courses took a little bit less time. Some took a little bit more. So this course more recently has been, well, what would you think? Like, because you've known me since I've been studying, has there been any sort of differences in
it has been different over the years, hasn't it? I think I can remember you doing, for some reason, doing 2 modules at the same time.
Yeah.
And that was a lot, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So you were studying, well, all the time, really, outside of your work hours. I also remember in very good timing, what was that? Our youngest was a month old, and you had to go off for a week residential.
Yes, great that.
Well, yeah, you had a great.
That was great.
You had a great time.
I needed the rest.
Yes, needed the sleep probably.
I did.
So yeah, actually, you've reminded me. Let's just talk about what your job is. So as you said, your job is very different to what you're studying.
Yes. Yeah. So my job, I work for Bernardo's, and my job is I work with apprentices. Majority of the time. So I work with business and management related courses. And I've been doing that for 4 or 5 years now at Bernardo's, and I did it previously as well. But I also teach functional skills, English and maths. So my courses have always been, well, the things I've been studying have always been quite starkly different to what I actually do.
Yes.
But there is obviously been benefits to it as well, indirectly. Which we'll probably get onto later on.
Yeah, that's a good point, isn't it? So we're different in that, aren't we? So what you're studying is very different to your day job.
Yes.
And mine is very much what I do.
Yes.
So I'm the head of a college, and then my master's is in leadership and education. So I guess interesting, isn't it? We're at different ends of the spectrum on that. If you possibly don't bring in a lot of your learning to your job and vice versa, whereas I guess I'm just living it 24/7.
Yeah, I mean, I try to. I mean, it's interesting because I do try to, especially when it's with regard to maths, because the engineering is quite maths based.
Yeah.
So yeah, it has definitely increased my capacity and ability to teach maths in different ways, which has been good.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to time, I told you I'd go off topic quite quickly. So time, it's been quite varied. Difficulty has been variable as well, so time's been different. I think when I first started, I would, especially if it was an area that's been new to me, so philosophy and engineering, both quite new topics to me. I'd never studied them before when I first started. So the time initially was quite intensive, I would say, like maybe 3 or 4 hours in the evenings, or get up early in the middle of the I used to get up really early to study. So it didn't kind of interfere with family life too much. But then actually, it's been interesting because I think as you get through a course, you become more capable of accessing it in different ways. So whereas before, potentially, I would have taken maybe an hour or so to get into a topic because I was trying to muddle my way through some of the intricacies of it or something like that. Now I'm much better at getting in and out of a topic quite quickly because I've been doing it for so long. So that's been freed up time. So I've been able to take bits and pieces of time rather than long stints. I very rarely sit down with a book for 3 hours anymore.
That is true, actually. In the past, didn't we? We definitely had, you'd have an afternoon of the weekend, and I would take the boys out, so you had just peace and quiet, so you could just focus.
I told you I was studying, didn't I?
Maybe we just, get the PlayStation on.
Yeah, maybe I did.
Yeah, I will never know.
No, you'll never know.
Definitely you did that, and you needed, I think it was very difficult for you to break away if you were in the middle of something.
Yeah.
Whereas now, you're right, you do sort of pick up your book for half an hour and get into it very quickly. So I guess that's kind of, you've learnt to do that, haven't you? You've learnt a more effective way of studying.
Yes.
Yeah,
definitely.
So that's actually tied into a course that I did recently. Just another course that I did recently.
Yes.
But it was an interesting one because it was on personal effectiveness, and it was really good. It was about the difference between being busy all the time and not actually achieving anything or completing anything. And then it was about sort of assessing your own personal effectiveness. So what times of the day, for example, are you better at absorbing information? Doing all those things around your well-being so that when you are studying or doing your job or getting a task done, you're working at your sort of optimum effectiveness, which, I found that very interesting. So I guess that's actually what you're just talking about.
Yeah, I had, so before, obviously, when you invited me on the show, I asked a few people on a group of mine about what some of the things, the tips that they had and things like that, so you could get a bit more of a varied idea rather than just listening to me and us chatting to each other about it. But one of the things that came up was learning to learn. If you've got people who haven't been in an education role, as in being educated, rather than being the educator, I guess you do have to relearn how to study and manage your own time and how to even like research or, access, and being effective at certain times of the day. Learn what you're good at and when you can getting the best use of time is.
Yeah. Definitely. So we've kind of said then, how many hours a week do you think you dedicate to you?
Oh, right, yeah. I do. I reckon about 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
Roughly. I've been in further education while I've been working for about 10 years. So I did linguistics and creative writing, finished that degree in 2013, and now it's 2023 engineering.
Yeah.
For 10 years, so 14 hours a week, maybe per week, roughly.
Yeah, I don't even know what that maths is.
No, me neither. I
mean, maybe
you asked per week, so I just gave you that.
So we're thinking 14 hours a week.
Yeah.
Over how many years?
10 years.
Wow. When you look at it like that, which probably gets us on to fitting everything else in.
Yeah.
So our days, I would say, one of the things that we do as a family, we're quite structured.
You're quite structured.
Yeah, and I'd carry the rest of you along with me.
Yes, kicking and screaming.
But we do have, don't we? We do have a routine that means, I like to think, means the other stuff doesn't slide. Because I think that's the risk, isn't it? That, doing all of these things, there's got to be something that takes a bit of a back seat. Yeah. But I think when we both talked about taking on different courses and degrees, and I guess, in a relationship that's important as well, that you talk things through together as a team. But we made it a priority, didn't we, that family life wouldn't be impacted.
Easier said than done, though.
Well, of course it is. Of course it is. Sometimes, obviously, there's times when it is. But I think what we've both done is try to do the work, sometimes at slightly odd hours.
Oh, God, yeah.
But fitting it around so that when we're with the boys, we're with the boys. Yeah. Yeah. Or we divide things up between us sometimes.
I think that's probably what we do the most, isn't it? We sort of split the work of family life between us. So I'll take Finn out, do something with him, you'll study or do bits and bobs, and then I'll do this, you do the same thing.
Yes, exactly. And I'd say it's probably easier because our other two boys are older.
That is definitely helpful.
I can't imagine doing this if we had three younger children.
No, and it's interesting actually because my step boys, your boys, they they've seen me study all the way through, and you. Yeah. But it's only since our youngest that it's actually been the time that I've had to give to him has been slightly more intensive.
That was a change, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a big change.
Big change. Having a baby again.
Yes.
And fitting it all around. But we're, like we said, we're still here.
Still here, just about, yeah.
So
quivering in the corner.
Fueled by coffee.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
So, I mean, talking about that, I think that's one of the things, isn't it? Because they've seen us study all the time. I mean, my eldest is also doing the same. He works full time, works incredibly hard in early years, and he studies as well. And I asked him actually this morning. I said, "What tip would you give?" And he said that what he tries to do is just, if you've got a little window, don't waste it. So if you've got half an hour, just pick up and read something or listen to a podcast or read an article. And also, he said the important thing as well is try very hard not to let it stress you out Don't make it stressful, because then what you'll get into it is a very negative thought pattern of, oh my God, I've got to do that assignment. It's so stressful. And then it actually prevents you getting on with it. And it takes your love of learning out of it.
Yeah.
Because I think if you are studying on top of your job, presumably you're doing it because you love it.
Yeah.
Because you enjoy the learning.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So if it becomes stressful, then that goes, doesn't it? And then you just can't face it. And then it sort of spirals into something you then possibly hate doing.
Yeah, I can't. So there's certain people have certain strategies for studying, don't they? And there's some people that I just don't understand. I can't do it this way. When they leave it to the last minute and cram assignments, like I think you do.
Yeah,
sometimes.
I don't leave it till the last
not the last minute, but you will put yourself in a position where you have to focus for an extended period of time in a short period of time, right? That's what you intend to be.
That is my mode of operation.
And
just a little bit of. I need a little bit of pressure.
Yeah, I can't do that. If I've got any pressure at all, I'll start freaking out with assignments.
No, you are much better at time planning, I think. And you are much better at saying, I've got this due in 3 months.
Yeah.
So I'm going to work a little bit on it every day, and have some breaks. Yeah. Whereas I'm possibly a little bit more, I've got a week to do this.
Braver.
I don't think it's braver. I think it's a bit different. But I definitely need that bit of good stress. Okay, to keep me focused. I think it's focus.
Staring at a blank page, I can't do it. I've got to put something down on paper for a bit, and then I can. We'll go through our tips later.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so just before we take a little break and go into the news, what are the benefits? Why do it?
Don't know. No,
that's not the answer.
Enjoyment, I think, is probably for me one of the big ones. So I said I enjoyed education when I left it formally. So when I stopped studying at university, I wasn't mature enough to study at university education. Really, when I went at 18, I wasn't who I am now. I've been able to access it a lot more. I've been able to engage with it a lot more as I've got older. But yeah, enjoyment. I enjoy learning.
Yeah.
Which is a big one. I think one of the other things is obviously this is something that isn't. It has become a little bit more relevant for me in more recent roles when I work with engineering with exam boards. But relevance, like learning while you're working, means that your learning has relevance. You're doing it for a particular goal. So for you, you're studying because you know exactly how you're going to apply it. Whereas if you're in an education environment and you're a student and you're fresh out of college and you're going into uni or something like that or whatever else, you don't always have that. And that can be slightly demotivating, I guess, and you find it difficult to apply it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's another one, I guess. Benefits for teachers would be relatability. So if you're studying and you're aware of the process of learning, I think you probably quite get better at teaching because you're able to sort of relate to your students a bit more.
Yeah, that's really good, and I think it's role modelling as well, isn't it?
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, I know. I talk about it, and we're at Inclusion College, Inclusion Hampshire, the whole organisation. We're very keen on professional development and learning opportunities, and I think I can see it with our students, especially as are older. They're college age and above. And when staff say to them, "Oh, I know, I've got an assignment due in for my course, or I've got to, upload this for my course," and it's really nice to be able to share that with them, and that they feel that we understand as well. But also, I think it's showing them, isn't it? There is no straight path now for education. No. It's not linear like it used to be.
There's apparently no end either.
Well, yes, true. There's so many opportunities out there, isn't there, for learning, like short courses, long courses, 13-year of education. Yeah. But you're showing them, aren't you, that it's never too late either. It doesn't matter what's happened in the past. You can always just get back to learning and develop yourself and gain further qualifications.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think one of the things that I've learned or I've kind of appreciated since I've been learning, so obviously I do distance learning because I can't do it logistically any other way. So we'll talk about that, I guess, maybe later on after your news break. But yeah, one of the things I guess would be development of a different social circle as well. Like, if you're working and you're studying, quite often you're not studying with people you work with. Always, you're not always doing the same course, you won't always be at the same point, but you are with other people on that course, so you kind of extend your social circle. I've met some great people on my courses.
Yeah, you've got,
and I'm miserable most of the time. So.
Yeah, even you found.
I found some friends. Yeah, exactly.
That's really. I hadn't thought of that actually as one of the benefits. No, the benefits I feel are, one, I just love it. Really, really love it. Love learning new things, and that's probably the biggest motivator. Second, as I said, is role modelling. I think both to students but also to family.
Yeah.
I think they're the benefits for me.
Yeah. Professional development, I guess, as well. You've got obviously
professional development. Yeah, that's true.
Realising that a little bit more. And I think going back to that sort of the friendship side of things, like if you're studying, it can also be quite isolating. Yeah. Especially like distance learning or learning a course that other people aren't on that you know, and you like, who do you talk to about it? Like I can talk to you because you know what learning and studying is like while you're working. But it's that isolating kind of I guess aspects of education when you're at work and you're learning while in the job is quite real for some people. Yeah. Whereas when you were, say, for example, at a classic university or a classic study, you're going there to learn and do something. It's not really like that because you're there physically with other people. Whereas you have to sort of find different ways round into sort of social circles. And
that's true, actually, isn't it? I think both as a sort of an adult and someone that's working and then studying, it's making those connections with the people on your course as well, so you can talk to each other about it. Sort of, not just for support with the learning and the course, but like you said, actually sort of making friends with people you've got common interests in. You've got a whole pool of people there who've presumably got the same interests as you, because you're on the same course.
Speaks to them more than you, I think.
Yeah, maybe. I had a little thought earlier that I was like, oh, this is actually quite nice just to sit down and chat.
I know, it's great. I get the coffees.
Yeah, should get a coffee. Right, and on that note, we are going to get a coffee, and then we will return afterwards. And I think we're going to talk about what is difficult about it, and then hopefully some things that are going to help. All right.
This is Teachers Talk Radio, and you are listening live.
It's time for a fresh start to language learning. Pearson EdXL's new student-centred French, German and Spanish 2024 GCSEs cater to the needs of all learners, regardless of their background, ability or reason for studying. Rooted in learned language knowledge, their assessments are transparent and accessible, allowing all students to showcase their language skills. Through inclusive and relatable content, the new Pearson EdXL MFL GCSEs build a shared cultural capital that helps students develop an understanding of and appreciation for the wider world. Find out more at go.pearson.com/MFL GCSE 24.
This programme has been brought to you by the Happy Confident Company. Our clinically approved, ready-to-go wellbeing mental health programme will help your pupils thrive. In only 10 minutes a day, you'll be able to deliver social and emotional learning and wellbeing tools throughout your school. To find out more, visit us at www.happyconfident.com.
This is Teachers Talk Radio, and this is Teachers Talk Radio News.
The BBC reports that 1 in 3 primary schools has no male teachers. The study by the Warwick Business School says the proportion of schools without a male classroom teacher has increased in the last 12 months. The report's author, Dr. Joshua Fullard, said this lack of male teachers was bad for pupils. Dr. Fullard is Assistant Professor of Behavioural Science at Warwick Business School. He went on to say that there is a large body of research that shows students benefit from being educated by a teacher with certain similarities to them. The report also found that schools in special measures are less likely to have a male classroom teacher. In total, the report found that 24.3% of all state schools in England had no male classroom teachers. The report called for teachers' pay to be raised by more than 10% and for a merit-based reduction in tuition fees for university-led teacher training to be introduced. Julie McCulloch, Director of Policy for Askell Union, said more needed to be done to attract men and women alike, and a spokesperson for the DfE said the department wanted the profession to be inclusive. North East Child Poverty Commission website reports that new figures published by the DfE confirm that more than 3 in 10 pupils across the North East are now registered for free school meals. This is an increase from January 2022. It remains the highest proportion of any part of England. The figure of 30.4% is compared with 18.8% of pupils in the South East and 19.4% in the East of England. The England-wide rate is 23.8%. All regions have seen a significant increase in the number and share of children eligible for free school meals over the last 7 years. The Guardian reports children's enjoyment of writing has fallen to crisis point, following research completed by the National Literacy Trust. The charity says an alarmingly low level of children and young people enjoy writing. The research was conducted across the UK. 34.6% of young people aged 8 to 18 said that they enjoy writing in their free time. Although 3 in 4 children starting school said that they enjoyed writing, this dropped to 1 in 4 by the age of 16. The Children's and Young People's Writing Report is drawn from over 70,000 responses from children to the charity's annual literacy survey. The number of children who say they enjoy writing in their free time has dropped by 12.2% in the 13 years since the survey began. Young people do report that they write to improve mental health and well-being and to support causes or issues they care about. Full details can be found on the National Literacy Trust website. Finally, Microsoft News reports that Taiwan has made the move to use generative artificial intelligence, or AI, to help students learn English. Teachers in the country often report that students read and write better than they speak English, as shyness and a lack of practice can hinder oral communication. A new chatbot has been funded by Taiwan's Ministry of Education to help pupils get the practice they need. The Coolie bot allows pupils to speak person to AI and build up conversation on preset topics. It also assesses punctuation, accuracy, and fluency. Taiwan has set a goal of becoming bilingual in Chinese and English by 2030. This has been your Teachers Talk Radio News with Joe Fox.
This is 2 Minute Tech with Steve Woods, your tech briefing on Teachers Talk Radio.
Hello, this week I'm going to ask you a question. Do you use presentation software to help you deliver your lessons? 99% of you will be saying yes at this point. Have you ever considered how many presentations the average pupil in your school sees in a day, in a week, or even in their entire school life? Considering a typical secondary education, with a bit of rough maths, over a week with 5 lessons a day, there's potential to see 25 presentations. That's 100 presentations in just 4 weeks. I've left out any additional presentations like assemblies and visitors, etc. Working on a 38-week year, that's a whopping 950 presentations a year. That's a lot of presentations. Now, let's throw in some schools have a standardised slide theme and set layouts. Now we have 950 exactly the same lesson beginnings. I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but do we really know what experience a pupil gets through a typical week in school? Are they being engaged, or are they being presented with the same visual stimulus day in, day out, simply causing them to fly below the radar? If you're like me, you're now thinking, how do I make my presentation stand out? Is there a presentation software out there that's better than all the rest? In my humble opinion, this is like the visualizer versus HD webcam argument. What works for some does not work for others because all subjects are not the same, which is a good thing, don't get me wrong. But please bear in mind that what works for one teacher may not work for another. A search for free presentation software returns no less than 24 apps I recognise. Some are interactive like Mentimeter, others have more dynamic transitions like Prezi. Most also have additional features and add-ons you can purchase. I know what you're saying, come on Steve, which is the best though? Well, the answer is simple, but I've run out of time. so I'll have to tell you next week. In the meantime, please consider the number of presentations a typical pupil is subjected to in your school. Does this need to change, or does it work? And how do you know? Do you have a preferred presentation software, and what are the features that make it stand out for you? Let us know at TT Radio Official. I'm Steve Woods, and that was 2 Minute Tech.
2 Minute Tech with Steve Woods, your tech briefing on Teachers Talk Radio.
So welcome back, Ben, and we're going to carry on talking about how do you do it, balancing study, full-time work and family life.
Yes.
And your own well-being.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so just to start, so we were talking, weren't we? I was talking to you about this last night, the Harvard happiness study, which has been done over 80 years and has just, I just think it's very interesting. So for a happy life, they're saying one of the most important things is having strong and supportive relationships in your life and connections with people, so family and friends and in your community. But the one I think is probably really relevant to this is about finding your purpose. And they say to discover what truly inspires you and then align your actions with your values and then pursue activities that bring you fulfillment.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to me, that really resonated with me because that's probably why I do it.
Yeah. It's taken me a while to get to what I want to do, though, isn't it? I started studying completely different things. And then, I think I followed my education has followed my interests.
Yes.
So at that time, I was really interested in that stuff, and that's what kept me motivated and wanted to do it. And I didn't, it didn't obviously lead to a professional area, particularly. Maybe indirectly, it supported certain things, but nothing directly. But yeah, you slightly more.
Yeah, I guess mine's slightly more directed, and aligned, I think, with my work. But I'd say you found something that inspires you.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, in engineering does, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, love it.
Even when you're not studying, you're always doing projects and working things out. And I've got
getting frustrated with stuff.
Yeah, building things.
Yes,
So, I mean, maybe
definitely,
that's something to it. Yeah. All right, so let's talk about what are the things that are difficult about it?
So, for me, I'm going to talk about it in terms of, at the beginning part of this, I'm going to talk about it in terms of career change, because a lot of people go through study to go through different changing career or maybe a development in their career in some way. So one of the biggest things for me was I wanted to do engineering. How the heck do you do that when you work full time and you need a professional qualification? So I couldn't just leave my job and study. I couldn't go to university to study because that would have been quite tricky for you, I guess, financially and otherwise as well. But also, I couldn't just go and do an apprenticeship because I was earning a certain amount of money. I couldn't go down a route of potentially earning any less. It was, paycheck to paycheck kind of stuff. So what the heck do you do? So for me, one of the biggest barriers to sort of learning in something, an area that I was interested in, away from what I had done before, was access, like actually being able to access the course that I wanted to do. And I was very lucky actually in the term when I was looking that there was they had extended student loan payments for STEM, so science, engineering, technology, engineering and mathematics. So they'd extended that, so I was able to get another loan, which was really helpful. And obviously the flexibility of distance learning with the OU was perfect because it was allowed me to gain access to an area that I just wouldn't have been able to do any other way. But yeah, issues would have been that. Time. Time's a big one. I was kind of used to that though. I guess for me, I was kind of used to studying. Yes. So I'd already allocated that. And you got used to that as well, I think, studying. Yeah,
I think much of the time that we've known each other.
Well, I think I must have been doing a course while we met.
Probably.
I think we must have done because we met at work, didn't we? So I would have been studying then, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I guess for us it's pretty normal.
It's going to be odd for you and me, isn't it, now? I'm not going to study after this.
Well, you say that.
Yeah,
you say that.
True.
I think you'll last a couple of months.
Maybe.
Before you get onto something else.
Maybe, you're right.
So time, yes.
Yeah, access, funding, cost.
Yes, cost
is a big one. It's not cheap, is it? Studying?
It's not
cheap. So yeah, getting to do it in the first place is a big one for me. Learning to learn, we've discussed already. So that's one of the barriers, like being able to kind of get used to studying again, or getting used to study. So some people, I guess, haven't studied since they were in secondary school.
Yeah.
And they might then, because that's something I experience a lot in my role, is that I've got people who are going through apprenticeships and often have been in a role for 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
And have never studied past that point when they've left their, O-levels or GCSEs. And they're terrified.
Yeah.
Quite often. Scared of it. And so that's a big barrier, I think. Is
definitely confidence in it, and potentially, there's a lot of people that probably didn't have the greatest experience with education when they were younger.
No.
So I think it's part of, I know it's something that you do with your students, your apprentices, but it's all that reassurance, isn't it? And yes, you can do it, and maybe a bit of sort of hand-holding at the beginning, that, like you said, that learning to access it. I think I can see the difference in the last few years, maybe the last 10 years or so, but the technological advances in terms of course delivery, and using these sort of platforms and uploading your work and all that kind of thing. Yeah, sometimes it's a bit daunting.
Yeah, it is. What you mean, like basically being able to do the course physically because of the technology? Yes.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely. I think some education providers are good at doing it, aren't they?
Yes.
They're good at sort of providing that support. But yeah, especially if you're kind of maybe more technophobic and not really sure about how to kind of, I guess, access this new age of education where you've got technology that's throughout.
Well, I remember when I did my MPQH a couple of years ago, I remember one of the biggest things that was stressing me out about submitting it was the actual actual process of, I think, because I had to kind of upload audio files and obviously my assignments as well and things like that. And I just remember really, really worrying about that. And I think actually the course provider did something called a technical check. So just sort of 24 hours after you submitted, they just check they can access something and then they come back to you. But you've obviously only got a window to submit. And I think they did actually come back to me and say they couldn't open my audio file and I had to send it in a different format or something like that.
Technicalities,
so
isn't it?
The technicalities.
You've done all the work, but you technicalities of actually going through it.
And I remember waking up in the middle of the night sort of and having to actually check, did I sign that before I submitted it? Because I just couldn't. So I think, talking about tips, I think something I've learned to do is whenever I do something like that, I just screenshot it quickly. So for those middle of the night fears, like, did I actually send that in properly? Then I can just quickly look on my phone at the screenshot and go, yes, I did.
Yeah.
It's there. Because I think that's the worry. It's not sort of, you're not handing in an essay now or...
No, you don't physically hand it in.
No, you don't physically hand it in anywhere now. You kind of email it or upload it and that sort of thing. And you're kind of relying on the technology or being able to master the technology, which is not my strongest area.
No.
I mean, maybe not so much of an issue for you.
No, and actually I think the OU's been great with that stuff because you have to do a dummy assignment at the beginning of quite a lot of your courses, which is more of a technical check.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's good.
But so that's a good issue is that one. Yeah, quite an obvious one really, isn't it? Because it's nearly all courses are online, like especially professional ones.
Yeah.
So the other one, like I think for me, and this is particularly key at the moment, is motivation.
Yeah.
I'm tired now. I'm pretty tired of this now.
You are, aren't you?
So 6 years of a course and assignment after assignment, exam after exam.
Yeah.
I love this topic. I love the subject, but it's exhausting constantly proving your ability in it through assignments. And I think for me at the moment, trying to keep motivated is the biggest thing. And it has been for about 6 months or so.
Yeah, I think we talked about it, didn't we? Because it's almost the closer you get, the end is in sight.
Yeah.
You found it almost more difficult to get motivated because you're like, I just want it to be done now.
Yeah. Yeah, I've done what I can. I've got a few extra modules left. Nearly there. But so motivation's a big one.
So how do you motivate yourself?
That's my secret to motivation is the little and often thing that we were talking about earlier.
Okay,
So I have to do a little bit every time. I have to pluck away at it.
Yeah.
And I do what's called a words on paper draft, although I don't really call it that for the radio. But basically it's just rubbish that I put on a page just so that I've got a starting point.
Right.
It's just absolute nonsense most of the time.
Just to get started.
Just to get started, yeah. And then editing is easier than writing something from my head directly, so I prefer doing that. Right. So I shape it that way. All my assignments since I did philosophy, that's how I do them.
That's really interesting.
So chipping away at it bit at a bit, half an hour here, half an hour there. Because if I left it any later at this point, I think I'd just it would be very difficult.
So staying motivated. I am a very, this probably won't surprise you, I'm a very reward-based person.
You're a massive nerd, aren't you?
No. Well, yes, I am.
Are you the apple
meant
on the teacher's desk?
No.
I'm sure you are.
No, I'm not. No, I meant I reward myself.
Oh, right, I see.
So if I've got something that I'm finding particularly difficult to fit in, or I know I've got to do something, then I will set myself a little kind of right. When you've got that done, then you get a reward. And I don't mean like they don't have to be big ones. No. So like when I've done that, I'll go and make myself a coffee. But you've got to go sit and just get this done. Because once you get on with it, it doesn't take it's not it's not the big thing.
Oh, right, okay.
That sort of thing.
Yeah.
To I think so. When I passed my MPQH, didn't I bought myself a nice ring.
Yes, you did. Yes.
Yeah. So to remember, so I'm a bit more reward based.
I think I probably would be, but not maybe for assignment to assignment or element to element of the course. I'd probably do it at the end.
Yeah, you've got a few games you want to buy.
I do.
When you finish your course.
I haven't played any PlayStation or PC games for 6 years.
Yeah, so you've got your little end of.
I've got my end. This is true, actually. It's a good point. Yeah, but there has to be, I guess, an element of reward and of finishing something, doesn't it?
Not just the pride you feel.
Okay. Although that is a big one for me.
Yeah,
like actually finishing it.
I sounded like I was joking, but actually, yes, it is for me. Yeah. I think, pride. Yeah,
it is pride. Yeah,
it's pride, and so it should be.
Yeah.
So any other? I mean, the difficult things. Yeah, I mean, we've kind of touched on a bit, haven't we? Balancing family life. Balancing marriage.
Yep.
And trying to take care of our well-being as well.
Yeah.
So we said, didn't we? There's always something. I think it's fair to say, and I think it's okay to say, there's always something that drops a little bit.
Yeah. I think it would be a lie to say that isn't the case, because how could you maintain that level of effort and not have something drop?
Exactly. So, I mean, we said, didn't we? We try very hard for it not to be family life.
Yeah.
I think also we try very hard for it not to be us.
Oh, yeah, no. Yeah.
Jobs. I mean, we don't get a great deal of time. Like I said, this is really nice, actually. I should probably get you on the radio again just to chat. Yeah. But we do try and do things, don't we? That's just us.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of a joke, isn't it? We do say, oh, a bit of a relief. We do actually still like each other.
Yeah, it is. We can talk to each other and it's okay.
And we do still have things to talk about. But maybe that's because we do so many other things that we've always got things to talk about.
Yeah, maybe.
So, I mean, I think the one that for me that probably drops is slightly maybe looking after myself, maybe.
Okay.
So, like sleep. I could probably do with sleeping a bit more.
Yeah.
What do I
drop?
What do you drop? Oh, this is quite interesting. Actually.
Yeah, I don't actually know. I mean, I think I just balance everything perfectly.
Well, we're going to need a bit more. We're going to need a bit more than that.
I think for me, I tend to. I think I don't focus on tasks that are not. So actually, I think my focus is more. I'm not very good at spreading it. So I think for me, I will rush through certain things that I potentially shouldn't rush through.
Oh, okay. Just to get on to the next thing, like a bit of a tick list.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so I think if it's difficult, actually, one of the things I found quite hard with engineering, which is a very exacting thing, a very precise thing, is that I am not very precise with a lot of other things. So that kind of thing, I guess that's where I drop. I maybe rush through things to get back to doing something else that I think is more important. But yeah, I think I think that's probably one of the main ones. I mean, obviously, I'd like to spend more time with you. Less time in an office, because I'm constantly in front of a computer.
Yeah.
So only over the past couple of months have I tried to get out and do a bit more things, more balance, basically.
Yes, and I can see that has helped you. So just going out for a walk,
Yeah.
and obviously you have got your motorbike
Yes.
as well, and that has such an impact on you.
Yeah.
When we have a few days and it's like raining and you can't go out.
Yeah.
It does bring you down a bit. Doesn't
It does. Yeah.
Whereas if you can get out for a walk and just get out, in the evening, perhaps when I'm doing bedtime, and you go out for a short ride, that really helps you, I think. Sort of headspace.
Yeah, I think one of the big things with sort of the issues of studying along work is the expectation that you will be able to do it with the same motivation that you started with, and that you won't find it difficult at times. I think that's probably especially extended courses like masters or university degrees or whatever it is, or longer term courses. To expect that the time commitment, the motivation is going to be a constant value throughout is unlikely, and probably you should be aware of that at the beginning of the course, that you're going to struggle at certain times, you're going to find certain things hard, certain things you find easy, and the time that you put into them is going to be variable throughout.
That's really true. And I think and knowing that's okay.
Yeah, and giving yourself time to be aware that that's, this is for me, I was saying, this is a really difficult topic for me at the moment. I can't get it right. Why can't I get it right?
Yeah.
So I spend more time away from it, and then I come back and I find it a bit easier.
That's really good. So I guess managing yourself, your own levels of stress and the expectations that you're putting, to not get it right all the time, and let yourself off for some things, because ultimately it's going to be worth it.
Yeah, letting yourself off for things you don't potentially understand at the time, giving yourself time to kind of, I guess, let the thoughts marinate a bit and kind of enjoy your life as well, especially studying around work. You've got work and you've got potentially an extended period of study that you have to do. Yeah. It's unlikely you're going to maintain that effort all the way through, and to try and do that is going to be really detrimental, I think. Yeah.
So you've got to have fun.
You've got to have fun.
You've got to have fun in the middle of it all. Yeah. Yeah, and take a break. Yeah,
definitely.
And I think then top tip is going to be, isn't it, if you are struggling with balancing everything, then talk to someone.
Yes.
So whether you talk to someone, your manager at work, if it's work related, or talk to your tutor, or talk to someone on your course.
Yeah.
Don't bottle it all up and just try and keep going, because that's just not going to be sustainable. Yeah. So there's always ways around things, isn't there?
And especially if you're learning through work, your employer might be the best person to talk to you about that, because they're supposed to be supporting you in your professional development. So that's probably where I'd go first of all. But yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So we're gonna be running out of time soon. Actually, it's gone quite quickly. Yes. So let's just share some tips. So you said that you spoke to lots of people on your course, and other people that that are studying, and that kind of thing. So can we hear some of their thoughts?
Tips? Yes. Reminding yourself of achievements quite regularly. So I personally use social media as a bit of a visual diary. So to look back over it helps me see growth. So one of the first things I did is when I first started my degree, I looked at it and I knew there's an area that I wasn't very good at, and I'd taken a photo of this particular equation I was trying to figure out. And then obviously looking back at that now, it's quite simple, and it's nice to see that.
I love that.
That.
So using social media as a visual diary, but for yourself. Love that.
See my development. Balance and flexibility. Don't sacrifice too much. You just burn out. That's one of the big ones.
Yeah. So on that, I think being aware of the signs of burnout as well.
Different for everyone. So one way of learning is going to be different to other people. So don't try and compare yourself to the way other people learn. That's one big one.
Or other people's results.
Oh God, yeah, because that's very easy to do.
I know every time you're due results, and people get them at different times, don't they? Yeah. And everybody says, "Oh, I got this. What did you get?" And when you're the one waiting for your results, that's awful, isn't it?
It is. And I think what we do, because I help run a group, a kind of a study group, and what we do is we try and keep it quiet about what everyone gets, because some people might have worked really hard or had something going on at the time, and they get like 60 or 70% or something like that. That might it might really put them off if other people are doing really, really well.
So you've got an agreement. You all came up with
quite
yeah.
I mean, obviously we've got separate groups that we do discuss things like that, but generally on that group, it tends to be that way where we try not to publicise what our grades are.
Yeah, I really like that. I really.
Planning, really important. Keep it planned, and the best one I think is teaching it. So if you're learning something, the best way of sort of learning it is to teach it to somebody else. So one of the things that we do obviously in this group is we talk through topics and we try and teach each other certain things, especially if we're on different pathways. So it's electrical engineers, mechanical, structural, all that sort of stuff. Teaching each other certain things and learning from each other is a great way of kind of reinforcing your own understanding of something.
In quite a
practical way.
I was going to say in quite an effective way. So you probably, that time zone, again, you're consolidating.
It's great for everything. Relationship building, understanding a topic, helping each other out. It's great. Best thing to do.
I have noticed, though, you don't try and teach me any of this.
I try, Marie. I try.
It's not for me. God, actually, though, that might be one of your achievements. If you managed to teach me, some mathematic equation.
Well, stick around. We'll do some integral calculus. How's that?
I don't even know what those words mean. My tips, I think, are probably planning. Is a big one. Time mastery. So through sort of business coaching with our incredible coach through work, Natalie, she taught us about time mastery. So it's not time management, it's time mastery.
Okay.
And one of the things that I've taken from that and I still use is like a default diary. So your week, you plan your weeks and you have these windows that are by default, unless there's an emergency, but by default, they are allocated to certain areas.
Okay.
So for example, if you kind of block out, a Wednesday afternoon and a Saturday morning, and that's study.
Yeah.
Or I know, Wednesday morning, Thursday morning, they're my times that are kept free for meetings and visitors.
Yeah.
So, it's just having that structure to your week stops everything getting overwhelming.
Definitely. And it means that you also got it to look forward to, or not look forward to, but that's coming up so you don't stress about it.
Yes, exactly. And one of the other tips for it was at the end of each day, just take 5 minutes and just kind of reflect on something's gone very well. That's a really nice way to finish a day. And then plan your tomorrow.
Yeah.
So the morning. So you've got your default diary. We always do something that eat the frog. So that task.
Oh, yeah. Get the annoying one out of the way, isn't it?
Yeah, get that out of the way straight away, first thing. And you set that and you write it down. And I write it down and leave it on my desk at work. And then I leave work and can shut off and compartmentalize. So I think kind of being able to compartmentalize is really important. So when whatever you're doing, you're fully present. So whether you're at work, you're present, you're studying, you're focused. And then when it is that fun time or family time or anything like that, you're fully present with that.
Yes.
Not distracted.
That's a good point.
Well, thank you. So any other tips? We've kind of said you've got to look after your health, you've got to look after your emotional well-being and your mental health. So that though, knowing the signs of burnout, recognizing when things are getting too much, talking to someone. Yeah. Sharing with other people that are studying.
Yeah, and your family. Like if you're being honest with your family about things that you're struggling with or time commitments and things like that which we talked about earlier, didn't we? Yeah. That's important.
So, and I think accepting help.
Oh, yeah.
Accepting help with things. So you're amazing parents. I don't think we could have done any of this without them.
No, probably not.
From, childcare and giving us time to have together to, doing things for the boys so that they always feel sort of important and valued, being there to listen to us. Lending us a lawnmower.
Yes.
I mean, all
that is
those
always
things.
Useful.
Yeah, you need your people around.
You do. Yes, it's very important.
Yeah. Well, it's been really lovely.
Been nice chatting, isn't it?
It's been really nice to talk to you.
We should do it again sometime.
And I hope that there's been some helpful tips in that. And also, I think, Ben, one one of the things that I think you've said that hopefully is helpful to other people is just know that it's all okay. Like, just know it's not going to go brilliantly all the time. You're going to get stressed and frustrated, but that's okay.
It's worthwhile.
It's worthwhile.
Yeah.
It's worthwhile. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's time for a fresh start to language learning. Pearson EdXL's new student-centred French, German and Spanish 2024 GCSEs cater to the needs of all learners, regardless of their background, ability or reason for studying. Rooted in learned language knowledge, their assessments are transparent and accessible, allowing all students to showcase their language skills. Through inclusive and relatable content, the new Pearson EdXL MFL GCSEs build a shared cultural capital that helps students develop an understanding of and appreciation for the wider world. Find out more at go.pearson.com/MFL GCSE 24.
This programme has been brought to you by the Happy Confident Company. Our clinically approved, ready-to-go wellbeing and mental health programme will help your pupils thrive. In only 10 minutes a day, you'll be able to deliver social and emotional learning and wellbeing tools throughout your school. To find out more, visit us at www.happyconfident.com.
Well, I've thoroughly enjoyed this morning's topic, and I hope there's been some things that have been useful for people. And I think also it's just really useful to share that sometimes it is hard. It doesn't go right all the time, and it can be tiring. But as we said, it is worth it. I hope it's going to be worth it in the end, anyway. Yeah, really enjoyed today's show. If anyone's got any extra kind of thoughts or tips that we haven't talked about, I'd still absolutely love to hear them. You can find me over on Twitter, obviously be on the Teachers Talk Radio Twitter as well, and I'm on LinkedIn. So yeah, if anyone's got anything that you think we've missed or any revolutionary ideas to help us do it all, then please let me know. But otherwise, as I said at the beginning of the show, I'm now off to catch a train to go for a conference and leave Ben holding the fort at home for 3 days. So yeah, that's teamwork right there. So thanks so much for listening and have a really lovely rest of the day.
You've been listening to Teachers Talk Radio. Tune in live and listen back at ttradio.org. We look forward to hearing from you next time on Teachers Talk Radio.